Live at the conclusion of the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft as the Ohio State Buckeyes waste no time making noise as they have 3 top 20 picks. We're here to celebrate and break down CJ Stroud, Paris Johnson Jr., and Jaxon Smith-Njigba getting drafted into the National Football League and officially beginning their careers as professional football players.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh boy, it was fun to watch the faces and to see the scenes as CJ Stroud, Paris Johnson Jr., and Jaxon Smith-Njigba got drafted into the National Football League. What's up, guys? We are here at the conclusion of the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft, breaking down and somewhat celebrating these 3 Buckeyes getting drafted into the National Football League. I am the host of Locked On Buckeyes, Jay Stevens, and I'm excited you're joining us here this evening or even early into the morning. If you're like me on the East Coast, you can follow me on Twitter at JStevens07. Also subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube and also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your fine podcasts. Everything at Locked On Buckeyes is free and available on all platforms. This was a fun draft to watch. I was sitting there in anticipation about an hour and even 30 minutes leading into the start of the draft. We all kind of thought Bryce Young would be number 1, but then Stroud goes number 2. Stroud went 2 to the Houston Texans. Paris Johnson Jr. went 6 to the Arizona Cardinals. And then the 3rd pick in the first round, that was an Ohio State Buckeye, was Jaxon Smith-Njigba, number 20 to the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to start with QB1, the first player taken out of Ohio State in this year's draft, Mr. CJ Stroud. It was one thing going into this draft in the first round where people were throwing different things at him, making different statements about him, and trying to use the S2 test to say Stroud's going to be this, Stroud is going to be that in the National Football League. Oh, here's why you should draft him. Here's why you should not draft him. And ultimately, when it comes down to Stroud, the football player, I am glad the Houston Texans did what I believe they should do. Let the film speak for Stroud. Let the film be what is the biggest thing you utilize to decide if you're going to draft Stroud or if you're not going to draft CJ Stroud. I even remember people saying the Houston Texans were not going to take a quarterback in the first round. They were thinking defense or maybe even trading the pick. They weren't going to go with the quarterback. They were going to go and possibly use Davis Mills for 1 more year. And when I heard that, I said, whoa, what is going on? You mean to tell me that Davis Mills a year ago wowed everybody in such a way as he started 15 games for the Texans last year that he wowed people so much that you're not going to draft CJ Stroud, that you believe in a guy who threw 15 interceptions last year and had a 61% completion percentage? You mean to tell me that he wowed you so much that you're going to dodge and go against and not draft a guy with the arm that CJ Stroud has? And these are things that I was thinking about going into this draft. The Texans weren't doing that. Now, I don't know who was putting these thoughts out there or saying this or saying that about CJ Stroud. What we witnessed was the Texans making a smart decision. Bryce Young going number 1 to the Carolina Panthers. That seemed to be expected. That ultimately seemed to be the thing that many people thought they would do. And when they moved from 9 to 1, trading with the Chicago Bears, it seemed like that was going to be their move. In comes the option for Stroud to be number 2. Now, you heard Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. They don't come close to being the quarterback CJ Stroud is. And I do think the Houston Texans made a smart decision. But as regard to CJ Stroud and him going to the Texans are a team that are longing, that are thirsty for a franchise quarterback, that are thirsty for a guy that can make all the throws, and that are thirsty for a guy who is as passionate about the football as CJ Stroud is. You look at the depth chart, yeah, they need some work. They need work on the offensive line, need work on the at running back in the backfield. They need work and help all over the place. In comes CJ Stroud, man. Like, CJ can instantly fix things at the quarterback position. He's not a perfect prospect. I won't come on here and tell you that. And I guarantee it. If you've heard me at any length of time, you know Jay's not going to sugarcoat anything. CJ Stroud, number 2 overall to the Houston Texans. That's amazing. And I think if this was any other draft, if this were a different year where you don't have a Bryce Young in there, you might get Stroud going number 1 overall. You might get CJ being a guy that is the best quarterback available in that draft in that year. It's just Bryce Young's different, man. I'm not going to try to shield it or protect you from the truth. He's different. CJ Stroud's different as well. I think the Texans made a phenomenal decision by going with Stroud at this time and by saying, hey, we hear all the noise. We know what's going on. Ultimately, CJ Stroud is our guy. If you want a difference maker, if you want someone that can come in and make a difference, to make an impact, buddy, instantly, you go get Ohio State's QB1 over the past couple years, Mr. CJ Stroud. It's also nice that Stroud will be throwing the football to a former Buckeye in Houston. Now, it would not be a Buckeye that he threw the football to this past season or the season before, as Jaxon Smith-Njigba, the only receiver in this year's draft that was at Ohio State. He went number 22, the Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk about that pick in a second. But it will be Noah Brown. Noah Brown, a receiver a year ago who was doing a lot, really figuring things out and played his most games in his career in Dallas a year ago, had 74 targets, 43 receptions, over 500 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, scored his first touchdown in his NFL career a year ago. And so if you want to talk about, hey, a guy who was a Buckeye, Noah Brown's there. We all remember what Noah Brown did at Ohio State. It's going to be nice to see him catch balls from your former Buckeye next year in Houston, Texas. And Sage, Ohio, I see you in the YouTube comments and the YouTube chat. Yes, CJ has the arm for the NFL. I agree with that, which is why if the Texans were trying to go back and forth, they're trying to figure out if it's going to be Will Levis or Anthony Richardson or Hendon Hooker. Well, Hooker's the fifth quarterback on most people's boards. Honestly, I would put Hooker as the 3rd best quarterback available in this draft. At the start of the draft, once Bryce Young's gone, Stroud's the guy. And why is he the guy? As Sage Ohio says, and I agree with it, he has the arm for the NFL. The Houston Texans, they got a good one. Ohio State's QB1 from last year, from the past couple of years, is now the QB1 for the Houston Texans. I say now because I don't expect CJ to go down to Houston and to sit and to not play. I expect CJ Stroud to be a quarterback that once he's there in Houston, he's going to start right away. There will be growing pains. There will be ups and downs. But also there will be CJ wowing the fans of the Texans as he makes all the big boy throws during his rookie season in the National Football League. From CJ Stroud, there were all to the other 2 Buckeyes that were drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. Locked on Buckeyes Live rolls on at the conclusion of the first round of the 2023 NFL draft. Stroud got things kicked off and started for the Buckeyes earlier in this draft. It didn't take very long for another Buckeye to get drafted in this draft. Paris Johnson Jr., number 6. I mean, let that sink in. I mean, we went on Locked on Buckeyes on Thursday show, and I kind of predicted where Stroud would get drafted, where Njigba would get drafted, where Johnson Jr. would get drafted. I thought it was number 9 to the Chicago Bears. There were some trades. There was some moving around. I think there were 3 trades in the top 10 picks in this year's draft. So I thought Paris Johnson Jr. was going to be a top 10 pick. I thought that was a lock for sure. Number 6? You see the passion that he had when he got drafted? You see the excitement on his face when he got drafted in this year's NFL? Number 6? Knowing that you're going to be blocking for a guy in Kyler Murray who is desperate for guys to help protect him on the offensive line of the Arizona Cardinals. A quarterback in Kyler Murray, who some say he's going to be up out of town. No. The Arizona Cardinals are trying to do what's needed so that they keep Kyler Murray there in Arizona for the foreseeable future. I think Kyler Murray is a good quarterback at the next level in the NFL, but ultimately, you got to protect him. But we saw the Chicago Bears move around a little bit, and didn't have they traded away the number 9. They traded away the number 9 pick. The Eagles got Jalen Carter, number 9 overall in this year's draft, but that didn't mean the Bears are not going to try to protect Justin Fields, their QB1. The Bears got Darnell Wright, left tackle, I believe, out of Tennessee. Talented guy, but they're putting an emphasis on protecting the quarterback there in Chicago. Well, the Cardinals are as well, and I do think it was clear. Paris Johnson Jr., the film says it. The other people that study this for a living, they say it as well. Paris Johnson Jr. he was not draftable anymore. He's already been drafted, but he was the best pass-protecting offensive lineman in this year's draft. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it to say he was not, or say it's any different to try to be different. No, it's clearly there on the film. Paris Johnson Jr. was the best pass-protecting offensive tackle in this draft. His foot quickness, his fluidity, his ability to be versatile on the O-line, those are things, as an O-line coach in the NFL, you're drooling. Maybe saying, hey, man, look, I know you got your options. I know you have this. I know you have that. Ultimately, how about you go get me that guy? Do what you got to do to get that guy. Maybe you can move out of the third pick and still find a way to get that guy, but go get me that guy. I want him on my line. I want him here. I want him to help me be the best offensive line coach or be the best offensive line to have the best O-line in the NFL. And that's what Paris Johnson Jr. does. Paris Johnson Jr. is a guy. Talk about C.J. Stroud making an instant impact. So can Paris Johnson Jr. Now, there is no award that rookie O-linemen win. They can win it. They're not going to. That is Offensive Rookie of the Year. Garrett Wilson won it a year ago, and it wouldn't shock me if Stroud or Njigba won the award in the upcoming NFL season. One thing with Paris Johnson Jr., he is not going to win that award, but he may have a quicker impact at the next level than the other two guys do. For Njigba, it's going to be, getting kind of ahead of myself, I'm going to say it anyway. For Njigba, it's going to be him simply getting his feet under him. Simply being a guy that is playing football again. Didn't play a year. I keep saying didn't play a year ago. 3 games, 5 catches. I know the games at the top of my head. Notre Dame, Toledo, and Iowa. Post-bye week, came back against Iowa, left the game. I think he had 5 catches on the season. Like, he was a guy that didn't get to play the football. But so he's going to try to get his feet wet. C.J. Stroud, you're playing quarterback, man. And then at the next level, you're probably going to have growing pains. My favorite quarterback to watch in my lifetime, my favorite quarterback of all time, I won't say he's the best, but he's my favorite quarterback of all time, Peyton Manning, went 3-13 his rookie year as QB1 for the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm not going to say that Stroud's going to be Peyton Manning in his career, but he sure could go 3-13 with the way the Texans are. It's hard, man. It is hard playing football in the National Football League, which is why I do think Paris Johnson Jr. could be somebody. Instant impact, he instantly translates and plays good football at the next level. I do believe that. Keep the comments coming. Keep the conversation going there in the YouTube chat. I see you guys having fun as long as we're just here celebrating the Ohio State Buckeyes. They got drafted in the first round. Another one, JSN. Now, this one kind of shocked me a little bit because I thought for sure 13, this is before all the trades went down during this draft. And at some point, I got the trade. The Bears got the 10th pick via the Eagles. And then all of a sudden, I just started writing teams down on my notebook. Didn't say how they got that pick because there was a lot of movement. I think I had him going to the Jets at one point, and the Jets moved back to 15 and drafted Will McDonald, the edge rusher. So I was like, cool, get Aaron Rodgers a receiver. No. But the Seahawks got Geno Smith, another receiver. I mean, goodness gracious. Geno Smith, a guy that I was not a believer in at all. I know he was okay. I thought he was more of a backup, but Seahawks may have gotten a guy. And you look at the Seahawks and what JSN's walking into in that receiver room. You got DK Metcalf on one side of the field. You got Tyler Lockett on the other side of the field. And in the slot, you got Jaxon Smith-Njigba. You got Geno Smith calling the shots. You got Noah Fant at tight end. And you got K9, Kenneth Walker III, the former Michigan State running back in the back. Hello, like, it's going to be fireworks, man. It's going to be fireworks there for the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be fun to watch. Now, I do think he may have fallen in this draft because if you see what went down between, let's just say, 10 through 19, it's going to highlight some guys that got drafted. You had Peter Skoronski go to the Titans. Now, I didn't think the Titans were a good fit for Njigba, but Peter Skoronski went to the Tennessee Titans. You had Jahmyr Gibbs go to the Detroit Lions. There were 2 running backs drafted in the top 12. That one was a surprise. Hello, like that was big noise there. Lucas Van Ness went to the Packers at 13, a guy who didn't start at Iowa, but ultimately he ended up going to the Packers at 13. You had Emmanuel Forbes to the Commanders at 16, Jack Campbell at 18 to the Lions, skipping around. Christian Gonzalez, someone who I thought was a top 10 pick, went to the Patriots. So you saw some defensive guys, a very talented corner, and Christian Gonzalez going to the New England Patriots, which I think is going to be great things for Bill Belichick and that franchise there. But then the Seahawks are like, look, if you guys are just going to let us have this guy fall into our lap, we're going to take him. Another sign of the Buckeyes making noise in the first round. The Buckeyes had the second quarterback taken in the draft, the first offensive lineman, first left tackle taken in the draft, and you also had the Ohio State Buckeyes have another player taken first at his position in this draft. JSN was the first receiver taken in this draft alone. It was a string of 3 receivers that followed after him. Quentin Johnston was taken 21 overall to the Chargers. Zay Flowers out of Boston College, taken number 22 overall to the Baltimore Ravens. Oh, might I add, Lamar got paid. Also, some more things to look at. DeAndre Hopkins is now possibly going to get traded. What does that mean for the Ravens? Browns fans, I'm throwing this out there to you because that may be some more competition for you there in the division. Going to dodge that right there. The number 23 overall, Jordan Addison to the Minnesota Vikings. So JSN goes, and then 3 receivers follow him. Njigba's the best receiver available, best receiver in the draft. But a healthy Njigba with those guys, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the outside for the Seahawks, Geno Smith slinging that ball all around the yard of the other talent there in Seattle. Ooh, buddy. He probably was going to get taken a little bit later, which is okay due to the injury that he had. But you know what? Someone said they questioned him because there was no film on him during his junior season. I do not. Because I do believe at the combine, at the pro day, I was not looking to test him and analyze his route running. I'm looking to see if he was healthy. And that young man looks healthy to me. And ultimately, a healthy Njigba in the National Football League can be scary. I think it will be scary for all those teams he's playing in the upcoming season and teams that have to deal with him, not just in the upcoming season, but throughout his career in the National Football League. Last thing on Njigba, and I do like this quote that we got from him during his post-draft pick interview. He said this about the Seattle Seahawks, quote, "I promise they won't regret it," end quote. He promises that they will not regret drafting him, and ultimately, I got to believe it, man. I got to believe it. He looked like he was happy, excited, but also determined to prove that they made the right decisions. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. 3 top 20 picks. Man. The Buckeyes surely made noise in the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft. We're not doing this live show. I'll see you guys in the YouTube comment section filling it up. Keep it going because I want to kind of send my little send-off to these 3 Buckeyes next as Lock On Buckeyes live rolls on at the conclusion of the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft. This is a special moment for the players involved. Stroud, Paris Johnson Jr., and Jaxon Smith-Njigba. A moment that they'll remember for their entire life. I talk about the passion and the excitement that we saw from Paris Johnson Jr., the determination that we saw in Jaxon Smith-Njigba. And I was watching the NFL Network broadcast. Melissa Starr did a phenomenal job interviewing the players that were there at the green room. We got to give it hats off to her. Also, Rich Eisen, Joel Klatt, Charles Davis, Daniel Jeremiah. Hey, little soft clap. Not trying to make it come off too harsh to you for you guys there watching or listening to this show, but I got to give it to you, man. Phenomenal job breaking down the football. Started on the ESPN, went over to the NFL Network, wanted more of the football guy conversation, and I believe that is something that we got. I also want to answer a couple questions in a little bit. What about Whippler? What about DeJuan Jones? But I'm happy, man. I'm happy for these guys. It was fun watching and covering these three players over the past few years. Paris Johnson Jr. played a little bit during his freshman year in 2020, 2-year starter 2021 and 2022. And Njigba 2021 special, 90-plus receptions, was over 1,600 receiving yards. I think it was 15 touchdowns? Something absurd numbers. But to me, the guy that I want to remember a lot, C.J. Stroud. Now, I think it would be Njigba if he played this past season, but he was hurt. But C.J. Stroud, in the moment that I'm going to remember the most from this draft. Now, this is a clip I do believe I saw on the Instagram or the Twitter. One of the two. It was not the Facebook or the TikTok or the Snapchat. I got to get all the socials in there. I believe it was on the Instagram, and it was a video of him after he got the call from the Texans saying that they were going to draft him number 2 overall. He's sitting there in his chair, his arms on the armrest. His phone is there, but he's not touching it, looking at it. And he's just taking it all in. Family and friends around him clapping, being very excited. I do believe it was actually on the Twitter. I want to say one of the Ohio State beat writers tweeted the video or put their own caption on the video. Somebody else tweeted after this moment was captured. But Stroud is sitting there, arms on the armrest of the chair, and he is just taking it all in, soaking it in, this moment, and remembering it, the emotions, being overwhelmed with emotion about what's going on with his life. And as soon as Roger Goodell is up at the podium and starts speaking, one of his boys, I'm not sure who it was, started talking, and Stroud politely said, shh, didn't say it out loud, but with his hand, pointing a finger to his mouth saying, and then quiet. And he heard it. He got excited. I believe he shed a tear or two. And hey, man, you deserve it. These players work their entire lives for the moment. One, it's an honor to be selected to be in the green room of the NFL draft. But two, they work their entire lives to hear their name called in the NFL draft. To be in the green room was great. Hear your name called, and then to ultimately what you have to do, what you do, just hear the name, man. And then if you have the honor to go be in the green room and walk up to Roger Goodell and be a first-round pick, number 2 pick overall, man, it just is different, man. I'm excited for these guys and these moments, these pictures that'll be ingrained in my brain for a long period of time. I'm very excited to see what they do in the NFL, and I'm excited to just watch more moments as Luke Whippler, Zach Harrison, DeJuan Jones, and others will be drafted over the next couple days. I saw a couple things, comments here in the YouTube comment section. I think Luke Whippler is probably going to be someone was asking, when do you think Luke Whippler is going to be drafted? Probably round 3, maybe round 4. Round 2 would be kind of a surprise to me. He can, but I think round 3 is probably where you're going to get Luke Whippler, and probably DeJuan Jones as well. I know prior to the start of the season, DeJuan Jones, round 2 or 3 guy. End of the season, I thought round 2. Some said round 1 via the mock drafts. I said, oh, maybe. But based off things that I'm hearing about DeJuan Jones is probably going to be a 3rd-round pick. Probably got 2 third-round picks coming your way later today. This is coming at you early on Friday morning at the end of the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft. Make sure you check out the video, the regular video coming out, regularly scheduled video for Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes. You'll hear myself and Ryan Roberts of Horizon Draft Scouting break down 4 defensive prospects for Ohio State: Zach Harrison, Ronnie Hickman, Cam Brown and Teron Vincent. And Ryan predicts, he's my favorite NFL draft analyst, he predicts where those 4 players will be drafted in the 2023 NFL draft. Also on the YouTube, there were 3 spotlight videos created and posted only on YouTube about the 3 players that got drafted in the first round of this year's draft. CJ Stroud, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and Paris Johnson Jr. Go check those videos out. Share them on the socials. Let your friends and family know that those videos are out there, and we're all celebrating, and they can celebrate with you as well. You can follow me on Twitter at JSteven07. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube. Subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, or even the Odyssey app, wherever you get your fine podcast. Locked On Buckeyes is free and available on all platforms. I'll be locked in, ready to go later today. I keep saying tomorrow. Later today during the 2nd and 3rd rounds of the NFL draft, and also tomorrow on Saturday during rounds 4 through 7 of the 2023 NFL draft. 3 top 20 picks. Let's celebrate it. Let's enjoy this moment. It's a special moment for Ohio State Buckeyes, and I expect the Buckeyes to make more noise over the next couple days during the 2023 NFL draft.